Hey there, folks. Foggy here. Welcome to day 207 of my year of solo board gaming, considered by many to be ill-advised and stupid. So recently, my local game store, FLGS, favorite local game store, had a discount sale on basically demo versions of games. So they had games that they would use to demo, so people would then buy the game, and this was one of the few things left because I got there a little late, and I decided, I really wanted to get something at a discount that could be played solo, and this was it, and I'll be honest, I think it may have been a mistake. This is called Escape the Dark Castle, and as you can tell from the artwork, this is medieval themed. We've got a cook and a tanner here. For the solo version, so the way that this game works is that you've got your opening story here. We're going to actually put this slightly right of center because you're meant to read it like a book. You take 15 cards and you have an unknown boss at the end of this, and the idea is just simply to survive the castle. Along the way, you'll draw items that will help you. I don't really know how often you draw items, but they don't do much. You have special custom dice for each character. So, for example, the tanner here and the cook both have specialized characters, specialized versions. And the way that the dice work is that there are essentially three sides that cover their specialities. So melee, cunning, and wisdom. So the tanner here has three sides that are devoted to wisdom. She also has two sides devoted to cunning and one side devoted to fight. There are also two sides that have shields on them and are count as double. So basically these will count as double for any particular skill test and also protect them from damage. Along the way, for the most part, for what it seems from the cards I've experienced, you'll be fighting various things or doing various skill tests. And if you pass the skill test, you'll get things, and if you don't, you'll fail or you'll go into combat. The way the combat works, I'll show you how that works in just a moment. And essentially, there's no real turn order. It's not like if I send the cook first, the tanner will then go next. You will just simply be going, you'll be picking whichever character you want to go through the next door. More importantly, you start off with 18 hit points when you're playing one or two players, and you'll see that I've got two 20-sided dice set to 18 here. That seemed better than... it's nice that they included it as a notepad and some pencils. It just seems kind of extraneous. Like, I don't know why I need that too. The only thing I'm really recording, as far as I can tell, is the hit point value. So I'm not sure why I really need much more than that. It's a relatively short rule book, so it doesn't take very long. You are essentially prisoners. This shows you what's in there. It basically shows you how to set up the game and then explains how you are dealing with things. You can only carry 2 items at most, but you can use items at any time. So it does not matter if you've gone through the door or not. You can always take a moment and just essentially rest. And so that's pretty much it. Solo play is explained at the end here, and then they show you how to... I guess apparently there are a whole bunch of other expansions. Okay. Sure. Let's go ahead and get through this game so you can see what I'm talking about here. All right, turn over to begin. There'll be a lot of creepy reading, which for those of you who just watched all the Arkham Horror ones, you'll know I do enjoy doing that. After years of incarceration in the depths of the dark castle, you finally break free of your cell. In a small stone room adjoining the cell block stands an old wooden chest. The lock is open. Each character should draw an item. So I'm drawing a decayed blade. Once per round, when you roll wisdom, you may roll again and choose which of these 2 results to apply. Not a good thing for her because she's only got one side that shows wisdom. Oops. Stale loaf of bread. Discard to restore 2 HP to your character. So she got a sword and she got some bread. That's good. The cook knew what was in the bread, so she just basically saw that bread and was like, I'm not touching that. Give me the weapon. You hear footsteps approaching. You must not linger here. You must make for the exit, slipping away and disappearing into the darkness. Turn the first chapter card now. Now, the way this is set up is that you'll flip over these cards, and you have to determine who's actually doing the flipping. And the first game I played of this, I kept forgetting to actually choose. We're going to have the cook go first. Without warning, a swarm of giant bats bursts into the passageway. You can only cower beneath the overwhelming blur of wing and fang. As the bats swarm past, each player in turn must roll their character dice along with 3 chapter dice. After rolling, a player loses 1 HP for each chapter dice that matches their character die. If a player rolls a double or rolls no matches, they are unharmed by the bats. So essentially what we're going to do is these are the character dice. The white ones are the character dice. The black ones are the chapter die. I'm going to keep the items over here so you can see the rolls as they occur. All right, so she unfortunately is going to lose 2 HP because two of her items matched. So we're going to take her down from 15 to 16, and there we go. Now we're going to do the same thing for the Tanner. She rolled doubles, so she gets no damage. Plus, she didn't match anything, so she is fine. She is hunky-dory. All right, so let's go ahead and have the Tanner go through the next door. As these 3 old women draw near, you notice their feet do not touch the ground. With a cackle, they lunge, probing for you with withered hands and rotten tongues. Combat special. The first time the risen hags are defeated, and before drawing an item card, roll a chapter die. If the result is wisdom, they regenerate. You must restart combat and defeat them a second time. So I think that's something I might have missed in the previous version. Okay. So that's something I missed, is that you're supposed to draw an item card after each one. So the way that the combat works in this is that you take some dice and you set it out according to whatever's shown here. So in this case, wisdom is automatically out. And then this little meeple here, this player token, that indicates how many additional dice you'll grab. So we'll grab 2 chapter dice, roll them, and so essentially it's all wisdom. Then you'll decide who's going to actually fight. Now, you can either fight or rest, and I'm actually going to have the cook rest on this one, since she's got almost nothing for wisdom anyway. We'll have the Tanner go. The Tanner gets a fight, which unfortunately does absolutely nothing. And since the witches are still alive, they will do whatever damage is listed in the lower right here, so this will make it 17. The cook's like, you got to let me help out. Also, because the cook was resting, she gains an HP, so she's now at 17. Fight and double fight. Now, the Tanner is the one that rolled just the fight. The cook rolled the double. The double means that she is protected from damage. She will not get any damage. The Tanner will now go again. Or that will lose an HP. Losing an HP. Let's roll 2 more dice. Cook and Cunning. Cook fight and Cunning, neither of which does anything. So the cook is now going to go down to 16. And Tanner drops down to 15. Tanner rolls a wisdom, and she rolls a shield. So we take away one of the wisdoms, finally. However, only the cook is protected from damage, so once again, we're going to drop a little bit here, down to 14. Tanner, once again, same exact roll. Cook is protected. Tanner gets rid of that. Since the wenches are still alive, the ghosts are still alive, whatever you want to call them, 13 is, there we go. She's now down to 13. Let's see. Once again, we get Cook protected, and Tanner rolls something useless, so she's down to 12. I think at this point, the Tanner is going to rest, and even though the cook only has 1 item that she can roll, 1 side that she can roll, she's also now 4 points ahead on hit points. The cook rolls a fist. That is useless. She's now at 15. And the cook goes back up to 13. The cook's going to rest 1 more time. There we go. The cook manages to destroy the women, the ghosts. However, let's see. Now roll a chapter die. We've defeated them once. Can we defeat them again? It is not a wisdom die. They do not regenerate, thankfully. We're going to draw an item and give it to the Tanner. It is a partially rotten apple, which can be discarded to restore 1 HP to your character. She's going to discard both of these at this point. There's no sense holding on to them. and that's going to push her back up to 16. So this was what we're only 2 cards in. This was probably the worst I've seen characters do. It did not help that all the dice were the same. All right, but now we can get to go on. The cook will lead, even though she's got fewer hit points. Tanner's still feeling pretty beat up. You are knocked unconscious and dragged down a side passage. You awake, strapped to a table where a man in a filthy apron is scraping rust from a jagged blade. You are to be a test subject for the castle's torturer. You must endure pain until your absence is noted and you are rescued. Roll your character die 5 times. For each roll that is not a might or a double, you lose 1 HP. So this is where the person I picked actually matters, because she's got 3 sides that will actually be helpful here. 4 sides, actually. 4 sides that will be helpful. Whereas the Tanner would have only had 2. So if it's not might or a double, I lose 1 HP. It's not might or a double, so I lose 1 HP. So I'm down to 14. Double. Roll number 3. Might. Roll number 4. Might. Roll number 5. Wisdom. Okay, so not great. Honestly, I'm surprised I got 2. But c'est la vie. Also, I'm trying to wonder how on Earth one person's absence can be noted if there are only 2 people. Like, that's just a little insane. Let's go ahead and flip. This time I will have the Tanner draw the card. A drunken guard stops you and demands to know your business. He is unsteady on his feet and his breath is vile. As a group, choose 1 item. Bribe. Discard 1 item and he will forget he ever saw you. Misdirect. Nominate a player to roll wisdom in 1 attempt. So I'm going to have, I don't want to give up the blade because the blade might still be useful, maybe. We'll go ahead and have the Tanner, since she's got 4 wisdom on her thing. Technically, it's 3 sides, and that's something that you really do need to remember, is that it says 4 here, but it's a 1 in 2 chance of rolling wisdom. She fails to roll wisdom. She rolls cunning instead. That's awesome. So the failure is the guard tries to detain you. You struggle free and escape, but players lose 1 HP in the process. So now she's down to 12, and she's down to 15. All right, let's go again. 2 deformed thugs are debating the best way to kill and eat another man when they notice your arrival. Nominate a player to roll a wisdom or a double in 1 attempt. Success. The attackers flee and the victim rewards you from his nearby stash. Each player may then either gain 1 HP or an item card. Failure. The attackers kill the man and turn on you, licking their lips and looking you up and down. Begin combat. So we're going to go ahead and have Tanner, since she's got 4 sides that have a wisdom or double, out of 6. And there we go. There's the double. So that is successful. So each player may either gain 1 HP or an item card. I'm going to go ahead and gain an HP for the cook, and I'm going to gain an item card for the Tanner. Effervescent potion. Whenever you would lose HP, discard this item to lose none. That's lovely. All right, next card. In the sweltering chamber, a blacksmith is forging a sword. He is so absorbed in his craft that you spot an opportunity to steal from him. As a group, choose 1 option. It's not worth the risk. Turn the next chapter card. Or try to steal. Nominate a player to try to roll cunning in 1 attempt. So here's the thing. For cunning, I've got 2 sides here and 2 sides here. Neither of them are really that good at rolling it, and I don't think it's going to be worth the risk to try to get 2 item cards. So we're actually going to pass on that. We're going to move on. Skeletons. This passage takes you past dark, unlocked cells. From inside, the sounds of bony, clutching steel is unmistakable. As a group, choose 1 option. Then begin combat. Charge them, or lure them out. So charge them means that you will basically only have 2 dice to deal with, but they'll do 2 damage each time. But 4 dice means that they will... The lure them out option means they'll have 2 extra fight and plus 2 dice, but they'll only do 1 damage. I think we're going to charge them. We're just simply going to go ape at them, which means that first we have to roll some dice. We're going to roll 2 chapter dice. We get 2 cunning, which is really not good. So the cook is protected Tanner rolls a fist. It doesn't really matter, though. That counts as 2 doubles. Both of these are eliminated, and we have won. So we have to draw an item. That will go to the cook. Infested cheese wheel. And so we're going to discard that. This actually restores 1 HP to all characters. So I'm going to go up to 14 on the cook. And we're going to go to 16 on... there. All right. As you pass a heavy wooden door, it flies open and a ragged madman bursts through. He wields his shackles as a weapon, and his crazed stare sends a clear message. You stand between him and freed him. All right, you must try to roll a might or a double in 1 attempt. I forgot to specify who's going who, so it's going to be the cook. See, and this is why it's important to pick one or the other. All right, doubles. Success, you managed to deflect his wild flailing. Begin combat. So he's going to start off with a fist and cunning, and then we'll roll 2 more dice. We get fist and wisdom. All right. Let's go ahead and roll. So the cook is protected, does not have to worry about any damage, and rolls 2 cunning. So the cunning is gone. Tanner rolls that. Now, I will say at this point, I may as well, because I've never seen anything that really causes you to lose a lot of damage, but I've also never gotten to the boss fight. I am going to go ahead and discard this and just make that be. So then instead of losing 2 HP, I lose nothing. We still got 2 fight left. And fortunately, the cook manages to deal with it. And so that is a dead madman. So we'll have Tanner get an item this time. It's, okay, it's a partially rotten apple. Discard to restore 1 HP to your character. 17. I will say health-wise, I feel like I'm doing a little bit better than the first time I played. Where is 17 on here? There we go. All right. There's something to be said about using just 2 10-sided dice, and then just, like, it's easier, I think, to just manipulate that. Let's see. Let's give you back these. The cook is going to go through the next door. Where there was once flesh and fur, the bones of the skeletal beast now crackle with the menacing power of dark magic. Begin combat. Special. Whenever you would remove a chapter die by hitting this enemy, roll it instead. If the result is wisdom, do not remove it. Put it back wisdom side up. So we're going to have these, plus we're going to have 2. This is probably the toughest beast that we've faced so far. This is not going to go well. All right, so skulls, all of these go away. Plus the cook was protected, so the Tanner is going to lose 2 points. She's going to drop down to 15. And we have to roll both of these, and if either are wisdom, they go back in wisdom side up. Fortunately, neither were, so yay. We'll now roll again. So Tanner is protected, and then the cook is got wisdom, so she's going to eliminate one of those, but she does take some damage in the process. Mix that up. There we go. So she's now down to 12. We have to roll this. Came up wisdom side up, so it goes back into the pool. I do not like this monster. All right, so Tanner rolls wisdom. The cook is protected, so the Tanner drops down to 13. However, we do have to re-roll this dice, and it's still wisdom. All right, both of them are protected, and both of them, so that's good. And in addition, we knock out both of these, so we'll re-roll this. And neither came up wisdom this time, so yay. We draw an item, Elixir of Insight. Discard before any round of combat to change any chapter die to show a trait of your choice. I think we might wait until the end of the game for that. Your boot catches a tripwire, releasing a shower of acid from above. All players must try to roll cunning in 1 attempt. For each player, and then it gives some options. So the cook fails, but the Tanner succeeds. So the Tanner dodges the trap. But for the cook, the acid splash begins to sizzle and smoke, burning through an item you are carrying. Discard 1 item. If you have 2, shuffle them face down. If you have none, lose 1 HP. So I lose the blade, which has done me no good whatsoever. So I'm not heartbroken about that. With a piercing wail, a hideous creature emerges from the darkness ahead. It drools at the sight of you. As a group, choose one option, then begin combat. Surround the beast and attack from all sides, or stay together and fight on the move. And the difference is, again, hit point level, and then the latter one is going to be 5 dice versus 3. So I think I'm definitely going to go with the first option, even though it's more hit points. All right, we got 2 fists and cunning. Let's hope for the best here. Not too bad. The cook hits both fists. Tanner, however, does take damage. She's going to drop down to 10 now. Neither hit, so the cook drops down to 9. If I can find it on here. And the Tanner drops down to 7. They're both going to go. There we go. There's the cunning. That's now done. We get to draw an item. It's a partially rotten apple. She's going to... let's have the Tanner take that one. A creature stitched together using butchered animal parts scuttles towards you. It's so hideous that you instinctively lash out. Begin combat, but you get to make 1 attack before the first round, taking no damage. And then, much like the ghosts, the first time that we defeat it, we have to roll. And if it's a wisdom, or if it's a might, then we have to re-roll again. So 2 cunning. All right, we're both protected, and these 2 get knocked out. We're both protected, but unfortunately nothing happens. We're both protected, but again, nothing happens. The Tanner knocks this out. However, before we can lay any claim, it's not might, so it does not come back to life. We draw an item. It's restore 2 HP to your character. I'm going to go ahead and let the Tanner take this one. We're drawing another card. We're almost to the end. A monstrous winged creature swoops at you from the darkness above. Its hunting cry is deafening. You must try to roll cunning or a double in 1 attempt. And if you are successful, you begin combat. And if you fail, I did not choose one of these to go through, so I guess it'll be the Tanner. Like I said, it's important that you actually pick which one is going through. So doubles. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that. So we go ahead and begin combat. It's going to have cunning, wisdom, and 2 more dice. Fight and wisdom. And there's a special thing about this one where after you've taken damage from the creature, you can no longer block it, which means shields would be ineffective. All right, so each are going to take damage from this creature, so blocks no longer matter. Each is going to take 2 damage, and so the cook is going to drop down to 7. And I'm going to drop down to 8. Let's roll again. We don't, unfortunately, get to block it, but we do get to get rid of 1 more. So cook is now down to 5, and Tanner is down to 6. The cook is going to rest on this one. And fortunately, the dragon is defeated. So because of the rest, she goes up to 6, and we draw an item. It's Brew of Might. Discard to apply a single might at any time. All right, that'll be helpful. So now we're down to 6 and 6 in terms of HP, and we got 3 cards left. To enter this door, you are forced to push aside thick... Oh, and I forgot to choose one. Let's go with the cook. Thick, thorn-covered vines. They spring to life, binding your wrists and hauling you into the thicket beyond. You lose 1 HP. Hacking at the aggressive weeds eventually causes them to recede through cracks in the old stone walls, leaving behind the belongings of the previous victims. Draw 2 item cards. All right, so we'll each get 1. We'll give the rusted flail to the tanner, and we'll just simply eat the partially rotten apple. A lot of partially rotten apples in this game, I'm noticing. The rusted flail is a one-handed weapon where once per round of combat, when you roll cunning, you may roll again and choose which of the two results to apply. Your spirit is suddenly... Oh, Tanner should be going on this one. Your spirit is suddenly wrenched from your body, paralyzed. You can only watch as it drifts by you. You are incapacitated. To restore your corporeal balance, the other players must roll in unison, keeping track of any wisdom until they have rolled a total wisdom equal to the number of players. After each attempt, you lose 1 HP unless the total has been reached. If you had not succeeded after 3 attempts, the curse is broken and your spirit returns to your body. So good. So glad I picked this character. Roll wisdom. Alright, so I lose 1 HP. I lose 1 HP. And since there's no way for me to roll 2 wisdom, I think... Let's go ahead and try it. Yeah, there we go. 3. So the cook is nearly... the tanner's nearly dead. So, and that's where this becomes important, because had I rolled the tanner, at least I had a chance. Yeah, there you go. I could have gotten it on the first shot, and the cook would be fine. So she's at 3. And this is, do not read until you have completed the last chapter card. This is it. You have reached the final challenge. One last obstacle stands between you and freedom. Turn over now. You cannot harm me. Behold my devotion to my followers. The priestess is protected by her possessed underlings, the row of chapter dice showing might. All of these dice must be removed before you are able to attack the priestess herself. The dice behind the row of might. Begin combat. Alright, so this is going to hurt. I don't know if the priest does damage each time. I'm assuming so. And she'll do 3 damage. Alright, so this is it. So I'm going to have the tanner rest on this first one. And I'm going to go ahead and discard this Brew of Might at any time. And that will get rid of one of the mites. She'll go ahead and roll. She rolls cunning, so she's going to lose 3 points. She's down to 3. The tanner gets 1. They'll both roll this time. They gotta kind of both roll. I feel like discard before any round of combat. Let's go ahead and do that. It's kind of pointless because there's at no point am I going to be able to beat these folks. All right, so we managed to take out one of each. However, the cook is killed and the tanner is left at 1. Now, at this point, one of the characters has died, so she would just simply not continue on. We can roll the tanner's dice, but again, since it does 3 damage, and we've got, we can only get at most 2 dice at a time, the tanner's dead too. The demented priestess has stopped us from being able to leave the castle, escape the dark castle. So that is it. And so, that's the game, and... my feeling is that there's not a lot to the game. There's not a lot of points during this game that I feel like I'm making a decision. I'm doing something, and accordingly, I don't think those go there. Accordingly, I'm making a strategic decision. You can choose to rest more during it. I barely rested at all. But I find what happens is that basically you are just trading one set of hit points for another, and so it doesn't really work that well. There's a lot of skill throws that I feel like are just simply stacked against you. At the end of each round, if the terror of the underworld has not been defeated, he grows in strength. Roll a chapter dice and add it to the row of remaining dice. Oh, good lord. That's even worse. So yeah, I think it's interesting the way that they have the dice set up. You're advised to go in with complementary characters. So there are 6 characters total, and they all do have it is possible to pair them up in a complementary manner. So you basically look for whichever item is in the ever skill is in the middle. So these both have cunning in the middle, and as a result, they'll have wisdom on opposite sides and fight on opposite sides. These two have might in the middle, which means that they'll have their skills be complementary as well. And then these two have wisdom in the middle, so their cunning and fight are complementary. Every character has its own dice, and I like the idea of the game. I like the way that the dice are set up. I don't like the game. I think it's just not interesting. There's not a lot to do other than just simply roll dice and see if you get lucky. And to me, that's just meh. So this was an interesting experiment. Again, I got it at a pretty good discount, so I'm not too worried about having wasted money. I'm always worried about wasting money, but I don't feel like this was a huge regret. It's just not a game that I think I'll be bringing back out at any time. It's not the worst game I've played during this whole little adventure in solo board gaming, but it's definitely in the bottom. I think probably the bottom 5. And with that having been said, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you tomorrow.